The emergency klaxons of the research station Kepler's Dream pierced through the artificial atmosphere as Dr. Elena Vasquez sprinted down the corridor, her daughter Mia's small hand clutched tightly in hers. Behind them, the metallic screech of rending bulkheads echoed through the station's skeletal frame. "Mama, what's happening?" 6-year-old Mia asked, her voice remarkably calm despite the chaos erupting around them. "Just a small problem, mija," Elena panted, pulling her daughter into a maintenance alcove. "We need to hide for a little while." The Zephyrians had found them. Elena cursed herself for believing this remote research outpost would remain undetected. The insectoid species had been systematically hunting down human colonies ever since first contact went catastrophically wrong 3 years ago. Their chitinous exoskeletons could deflect most conventional weapons, their razor-sharp mandibles could slice through steel, and their compound eyes could track movement in complete darkness. They were the perfect predators. Humanity was losing. The war. The sounds of carnage grew closer, screaming, the wet crunch of chitin meeting flesh, the hiss of decompressing atmosphere. Klena pressed Mia against the wall, covering her small body with her own. A shadow fell across the alcove entrance. The Zephyrian warrior stood nearly 8 feet tall, its forearms ending in scythe-like appendages that dripped with something Elena didn't want to identify. Its triangular head swiveled toward them with mechanical precision, compound eyes reflecting the emergency lighting like fractured jewels. The creature's mandibles spread wide, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth, designed for tearing apart prey. Elena felt her breath catch in her throat. She had studied these beings for years, had written papers on their biology and behavior. She knew exactly what those mandibles could do to human bone. The Zephyrian took a step forward, its head tilting in that unnaturally precise way as it focused on them. A low rumbling sound emerged from its throat, somewhere between a purr and a growl. "Stay behind me," Elena whispered to Mia, though she knew it was futile. Her hands found the small plasma cutter on her belt, knowing it would barely scratch the creature's natural armor. But Mia didn't stay behind her mother. Instead, the little girl stepped forward, looking up at the towering predator with wide, curious eyes. "Mama," she said in her matter-of-fact 6-year-old voice, "it looks hungry." Before Elena could react, Mia reached into her small backpack, the one she'd insisted on bringing despite the evacuation, and pulled out a crumpled bag of gummy bears. The colorful candies seemed absurdly bright against the sterile walls of the station. The Zephyrian's head jerked back slightly, its aggressive posture shifting to something that might have been confusion. Its mandibles remained spread, but the rumbling sound softened. "Here," Mia said, holding up a red gummy bear toward the creature. "These are really good. Cherry flavor is my favorite." Elena's heart hammered against her ribs. Every instinct screamed at her to grab her daughter and run, but there was nowhere to go. The corridor behind the Zephyrian echoed with the sounds of its hunting pack. The creature lowered its head, bringing those compound eyes level with Mia. For a moment, that stretched into eternity, predator and child regarded each other. Then, impossibly, the Zephyrian's secondary arms, the smaller, more dexterous ones used for manipulation, reached out. Mia placed the gummy bear in what passed for the creature's palm. The Zephyrian examined the candy with the same intensity it had shown while hunting. Its mandibles closed slightly as it brought the bear closer to what Elena assumed was its mouth. After several seconds of apparent consideration, the creature consumed the offering. Elena watched in stunned silence as the apex predator that had terrorized human space for 3 years processed the taste of Earth confectionery. Its head tilted again, this time in what almost seemed like surprise. Mia giggled. "Good, right? Want another one?" She held up a green gummy bear, and this time the Zephyrian reached for it without hesitation. As it ate the second candy, something extraordinary happened. The creature's posture relaxed completely. Its scythe arms retracted partially, and the threatening rumble in its throat transformed into something that sounded almost pleased. "Mia," Elena whispered, hardly daring to breathe. "Offer it the whole bag." Her daughter looked up at her with those impossibly trusting eyes. "But Mama, these are my favorites." "I know, baby. But I think our new friend likes them too." Mia considered this with the serious deliberation that only children could muster. Then she held out the entire bag to the Zephyrian. "Here, you can have them all. But you have to share with your friends, okay?" The creature accepted the bag with something approaching reverence. It made a series of clicking sounds. Elena recognized them as Zephyrian communication patterns, though she'd never heard these particular sequences before. From the corridor came answering clicks. The sounds of violence had stopped. The Zephyrian warrior straightened to its full height, but now its presence felt less threatening and more protective. It made another series of clicks, longer and more complex. From somewhere in the station came a responding chorus. "What's happening?" Elena whispered. As if in answer, more Zephyrians appeared in the corridor, but instead of the aggressive hunting postures Elena expected, they approached with cautious curiosity. The warrior who had first encountered them made more clicking sounds, apparently explaining the situation to its pack. One by one, the other Zephyrians approached Mia. The little girl greeted each one with the same fearless enthusiasm she showed to neighborhood dogs, chattering about gummy bears and asking if they wanted to be friends. Elena realized she was witnessing something unprecedented in human-Zephyrian relations. First contact without bloodshed. Later, as the evacuation ships arrived to find humans and Zephyrians working together to repair the station's damaged sections, Elena would struggle to explain what had happened. The Zephyrians, it turned out, had attacked human settlements not out of malice, but because they interpreted human defensive behaviors as territorial aggression. Mia had done something no human diplomat, soldier, or scientist had managed. She had approached them without fear, without preconceptions, and without weapons. She had offered kindness to a creature that looked like a nightmare. As the first human-Zephyrian peace treaty was being drafted weeks later, one detail would be included at the specific insistence of the Zephyrian delegation, a provision for regular cultural exchanges with particular emphasis on what they called the small bright foods that taste of friendship. Elena watched her daughter teaching a group of young Zephyrians how to play hopscotch, their chitinous forms moving awkwardly but enthusiastically across the playground she had drawn in chalk. The sight still seemed surreal, but she was beginning to understand something fundamental about humanity's place in the galaxy. Sometimes the greatest strength wasn't in weapons or technology or tactical brilliance. Sometimes it was in the simple, terrifying courage to extend trust to something unknown, to offer friendship to what looked like a monster. Sometimes salvation came in a crumpled bag of gummy bears and the fearless heart of a child who saw hungry instead of horrible friend instead of foe. The war was over. It had ended not with humanity's superior firepower, but with something far more powerful. A 6-year-old girl who believed the universe was fundamentally good and who had been brave enough to act on that belief. In the end, that had made all the difference.